everyone. Now, I know that it's hard to keep up on top of what's going on in the Holy Land, but if you want to know more about what's happening here in Israel, I'm Aaron Porras, and this is the Weekly Review.
The first explosion was in the Givat Shaul neighborhood, close to the main entrance to Jerusalem, at about 7 in the morning. 11 people were injured in the blast, including 2 critically. The victims were taken to Hadassah Ein Kerem and Shaarei Tzedek hospitals, where 1 died of his injuries. The second blast was near the remote junction. 3 people were injured by shrapnel. There were no immediate claims of responsibility. Following the blasts, security forces swept the area in an attempt to find any suspects connected to the attacks. It was determined that the blasts were detonated remotely.
בוקר לא פשוט מבחינת כמות הנפגעים. יש לנו פה מתווה של פיגוע שהרבה שנים לא ראינו כמותו, כלומר 2 פיגועים ברצף. אנחנו לא יודעים כרגע להגיד אם מדובר במפגע אחד או בחוליה מפוצלת. בכל מקרה כרגע עיקר המאמץ של משטרת ישראל כרגע הוא סריקות בכל האזורים שמועדים לפורענות, אם זה בתחנות אוטובוס, תחנות הסעה, באוטובוסים במקומות ריכוזים זה קהל, במקביל למאמץ של המרדף ולשים את היד אחר מבצע פיגוע. אנחנו נעשה כל שביכולתנו ביחד עם כל גורמי הביטחון האחרים ונגיע לחוליה הזאת.
The police will ratchet up security all around Jerusalem, and they're also emphasizing that this is different than any attacks in the recent past, and they're calling on the public to be especially vigilant when they see suspicious packages. The explosions came amid heightened tensions following a series of Palestinian terror attacks, which have left 29 people dead in Israel and Judea and Samaria. In recent months, there have been a number of stabbing attacks in Jerusalem, including the killing of a female soldier at a checkpoint. In the spring, the army launched a major anti-terror attack that is ongoing. More than 2,000 Palestinians have been arrested in the near-nightly raids that have left 130 Palestinians dead, mostly killed in clashes with soldiers. Bombings in Jerusalem were commonplace during the Second Intifada between the year 2000 and 2005. There have been very few buses targeted over the past 17 years. This is primarily attributed to increased security measures, including the creation of a security barrier between Israel and the Palestinian territories. The previous major bus attack was in 2016, in a Hamas attack that injured 21. The last death before today was in 2011, when 2 were killed and a dozen injured.
As the countdown continues, difficult coalition negotiations are at a snail's pace, but progressing nonetheless. To begin, Shas leader Aryeh Deri rescinding demands for the finance portfolio and allowing Netanyahu to offer the ministry to religious Zionism chief Bezalel Smotrich, but not before declawing the finance portfolio's authority by keeping much of its powers for the Likud, including the National Budget Department and the management of government-run companies. Additionally, Likud members will reportedly fill top ministries, including the portfolios of Defense, Foreign Affairs, and Education. The positions likely to go to former commander of the IDF Southern Forces, Yoav Gallant, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Ron Dermer, and former Minister of Culture, Sport, and Transportation, Miri Regev, respectively. Meantime, in exchange for dropping demands on the finance portfolio, Deri will likely be handed the Ministry of Interior, which he's held before, as well as the Transportation Ministry, which means hopes for public transportation on the Sabbath are likely dead for the time being. All that's needed is for the override bill to be passed. Without this bill, Deri would not be allowed to serve in any top cabinet positions due to his previous corruption and bribery convictions. Enraged by Shas's new power, however, the United Torah Judaism Party's Moshe Gafni now demanding the religious affairs portfolio, which Shas has traditionally held. And UTJ will also likely get the housing ministry, which would enable Haredi leaders to favor the quickly growing Orthodox populations in getting more affordable housing. Such appointments will also have strong effects on laws regarding religious observance, kosher certifications and oversight, and considerations on who qualifies as Jewish for the purposes of such things as immigration.
IDF Chief Aviv Kochavi is in Washington for White House talks. Kochavi met U.S. Security Advisor Jake Sullivan with talks focused on security challenges impacting the Middle East in general and the threats posed by Iran and its proxies in particular. Sullivan told Kochavi that the U.S. remains committed to ensuring that Iran never acquires nuclear weapons. The U.S. and Israel disagree on Iran's policy, with Jerusalem opposing attempts to revive the agreement between Tehran and world powers that trades sanctions relief for curbs on its nuclear program. There were also reportedly discussions about the ongoing civilian protests in Iran against the regime. In Israel, the head of military intelligence said that the protests in Iran are becoming a popular uprising.
מה שאני יכול להגיד בכותרת, שאני כבר חושב שהמחאות עברו קצת לפסים של מרי אזרחי. וזה לא אותו דבר. כלומר, שאתה מסתכל על חלק מההתרחשות, אפילו על שעות שזה קורה בהם, הפגיעה במוסדות שלטון, בסמלי שלטון, מספר ההרוגים, יש כאן משהו אחר שמטריד מאוד את המשטר. הוא מטריד מאוד את המשטר כשהוא גם מתלכד עם דברים אחרים, בטח הסנקציות, בטח המצב הכלכלי שגם ככה העולם כולו נמצא בתקופה פחות טובה, נאמר זאת כך.
According to human rights groups, some 410 protesters have been killed in Iranian unrest, including about 60 minors. Nearly 18,000 Iranians have been imprisoned in protests which began about 70 days ago. The nationwide protests are sparked by the death of 22-year-old Iranian woman Mahsa Amini in September, while in the custody of morality police.
In defense news, a ship-mounted version of the Iron Dome air defense system is now fully operational. The Navy saying that the S-80 Sal 6-class corvette is now fitted with the advanced mode Sea Dome to protect airborne threats at sea. At 80 meters long with top speed of 28 knots and a range of 3,500 nautical miles, the vessel can be also used to deploy special forces units, and it's armed with electronic warfare systems. The Star 6 being tasked with protecting the natural gas platforms developed off the Israeli coast, as well as keeping ship lanes safe. The S-80 is the Israeli Navy's flagship vessel for the next decade. It's designed for stealth, agility, and cutting-edge capabilities in a variety of potential battle scenarios. In recent years, the Israeli Navy has begun to upgrade its entire combat fleet that includes new Dolphin-class submarines. In the video, the Iron Dome is seen intercepting a missile launched from another ship. In other tests, the air defense system successfully defended against drones and cruise missiles. The test simulated real threats and included the system's successful detection and interception of targets in challenging scenarios. And now joining us live from Qatar with more is Adar Segal. Hi, Adar.
Good evening, Amit. Good evening, Israel.
Good evening. So Argentina surprisingly lost. You were just there. What a shock it was. Can you tell us what the atmosphere was in the stands?
The atmosphere was crazy. A lot of people from Saudi Arabia and from Argentina, from many countries around the world, was really football festival. I said it's like Tomorrowland, but of football, what's happening here. And the Saudis were amazing, just amazing crowd to see them, to watch them celebrate. Amazing. Football unites people. Football unites the world. The fact that the first direct flight between Israel and Doha and Qatar, you know, it's amazing. But the atmosphere, wow, indescribable.
It's definitely historic. And another historic thing yesterday in the game between England and Iran, and in protest, the Iranian players refused to sing their country's national anthem. Please describe the moment from your perspective.
It was a very strong moment. It means that sport is much more than sport, because what they are doing for human rights after the terrible, tragic case of Mahsa Amini, it's amazing to see how they have a lot of courage to do it, and they are courageous people. And I talked to some of the protests that were in the match, Iranian fans, and they knew them from Israel, and they were really nice, and they know the world is behind them in their important struggle for women's rights, for human rights, and well done, well done. It's really, it was very emotional, much more than sport. For those players, for the fans, for the country that wants to live in peace.
So I was just going to ask you, did any of the Iranian fans in the stands know that you were Israeli? And if so, how were you received? Did you speak to them? What did they say?
Yeah, I spoke to some of them outside, and they were actually really, really nice. Also in Moscow, I met some of them, and it was nice to meet them in person. Yes, you know, sometimes governments are governments and the public is public and people want to live in peace. Yesterday, I sat next to some Palestinians in the match between the USA and Wales, and all of us took a photo with David Beckham. You know, that means that's peace. Like David Beckham unites between us and the football unites between us. And I think the World Cup here in beautiful Qatar means that this is it. This is how it's supposed to be.
Adar, continue enjoying the World Cup. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy it.
Thank you, Amit, and good evening. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
And speaking of regional cooperation, Azerbaijan is set to be the first Shiite Muslim majority country to open an embassy in Israel. The announcement made over the weekend following parliamentary approval will see Azerbaijan open the embassy in Tel Aviv. Outgoing Prime Minister Yair Lapid welcomed the decision, calling Azerbaijan an important partner of Israel and home to one of the largest Jewish communities in the Muslim world. He said the decision to open the embassy reflects the depth of the relationship between the two countries. And so joining us now with more on this historic decision is former Israeli ambassador to Azerbaijan, Arthur Lenk. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, good to be with you.
So what do you make of this historic decision? You know, about time, wouldn't you say?
Well, I certainly agree with that. That's something that I was encouraging 15 years ago. But, you know, Israel and every other country has its own concerns and its own issues and its own timeline. And it's good that it's happening now. Our relations are wider and more diverse than ever. And opening an embassy in Tel Aviv serves Azerbaijan's interest more than anybody else's.
Now, the countries have had diplomatic ties for years. And, you know, Israel has an embassy in the country. You were the former ambassador. What can you tell us about the relations between these two countries?
Well, it's an interesting relationship. We're two small countries in really complex, difficult neighborhoods. And we have key interests and ways to help each other. Certainly in areas of security, there's two-directional cooperation, and things that we do for them that probably nobody else can do, and things that they do for us that probably nobody else can do. We're a huge customer of Azerbaijani oil, and in a time of energy concerns in Europe and around the world, that's not a small deal. And the relationship is widening in a range of areas. I'm very involved in education and in startup investments in Azerbaijan, and there's agriculture and water use, and they have a range of issues that are important to us, not the smallest amount of a Muslim country that really emphasizes coexistence.
And so, you know, if we've had these relations for years, why did it take so long for Azerbaijan to finally open or declare that it's going to open an embassy in Israel? And why did they decide to do so now? I mean, what's changed?
Well, I mean, I can't speak for them. At the same time, I think that Azerbaijan has its own, tough dilemmas to ask itself. One of them, it borders Iran, and any country, we're a couple of thousand miles away, and Azerbaijan is right there, and so it needs to take that into consideration. It also has a conflict with its neighbor Armenia, and it needed to protect support for that. But friends of Azerbaijan have said for years, and me among them, that they should take the jump and take the leap. And I think that the fact that countries like the Emirates and Bahrain and Morocco have done so in the last couple of years and gained from it, I think has shown the Azerbaijanis that it really does serve their interests to be here regularly.
All right, former Israeli ambassador to Azerbaijan, Arthur Lenk, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's time to tighten your belt as Israel faces a tough period of rising prices. That's the word from the Bank of Israel, which increased the benchmark interest rate for the 6th straight time this year. The rate now jumping from 2.75% to 3.25% in a move designed to cool price growth. But that's bad news for those needing to repay mortgages. Only last April, interest rates were at all-time low of 0.1%. Bank Governor Amir Yaron saying that the economy is recording strong economic activity, but with a tight labor market and an increasing inflation rate. The annual inflation has now reached 5.1%, well above the government's 1 to 3% target range. Looking ahead in the coming months, economists predicting more inflation and then a decline to about 3.5% by the end of the year. Yet another anti-Israel resolution now enforced on U.S. campuses. Student groups at the University of California, Berkeley Law School adopting a decision to exclude Zionist speakers and organizations from appearing at their school. But far from quietly accepting this decision, the International Legal Forum and the Florida-based LSN law offices filing a first-of-its-kind suit. Joining me with more is Mayor of Belle Harbor, Florida, attorney and partner with LSN Law, Gabriel Grossman. Hi, Gabriel. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Can you briefly break down the argument at the heart of your suit?
Sure. The Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 in the United States says that no person in the United States on the ground of their race, color, or national origin shall be excluded from participation in any program that receives federal funding. That was later expanded to include ethnic groups and such as the Jewish community and ethnic characteristics. What the groups there did is they say by saying that no one that holds any Zionist beliefs can participate as speakers in their programs is essentially saying that no Jews can participate in their programs. Now, we know that Zionism is a core characteristic of Judaism, and they're trying to get around the discrimination laws by instead of saying Jews, saying Zionists, but we know what they mean, we know the effect that it's having, and it's having a tremendous effect on students on campus. You're seeing images on the screen right now from university campuses. It's like that and worse. And it's our responsibility to stand up for those students, and hopefully the United States Department of Education will do just that.
Gabriel, why now? And how has the school responded so far?
So we just filed the complaint. We waited a few months as these bylaws passed in August. The university started by responding, saying that, we're unhappy with this, but it's only 9 student groups, which is really incredible for them to say. They wouldn't say it for any other group. It wouldn't say that only nine groups are racist or discriminatory, but the other 100 aren't. So don't worry, that's unacceptable. There was a groundswell from the Jewish community and the community at large in California. We were waiting to see if they were going to do the right thing. They didn't. So the answer was now is the time. There hasn't really been a response from the university yet. We expect one very soon, and we look forward to seeing them really come to their senses.
And what actually separates this suit from other filings in opposition to anti-Zionist and anti-Israel resolutions?
Yeah, this one's slightly different. By filing a Title VI suit, there have been others before. No one has filed anything against the University of California, Berkeley, because of the strategy taken by the students there. So, the answer is that we have to fight every fight. We have to, it's our obligation to pull the levers that the United States law provides to protect our students. We can't sit idly by while this is happening, and if not now, when?
Have you yourself filed similar suits against other schools too?
Yeah, I've been involved in many lawsuits, usually behind the scenes. What's interesting about Title VI is that anyone has standing. Anyone can file a complaint when they see an injustice with the United States Department of Education, Office of Human Rights. So it's a little bit different where we are the complainants ourselves, myself and Arsen Ostrovsky from the International Legal Forum.
So this resolution you're fighting is at UC Berkeley Law School, and you're in Florida. How did you get involved?
I've been involved in fighting for Jewish rights and for the Jewish community all over the country and the world for many years. And this is what happens in California certainly affects us here in Florida, and it affects us all over the country. The plague of anti-Semitism is spreading across this country, across university campuses, and not only university campuses. And it's all our responsibilities to stand up.
Do you think these groups coming into the universities, do they make such a big difference in coming and speaking about Zionism, about Israel?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have to be part of the discussion. Remember that the whole point of even this action is that universities have to have what we call all-comers policies, where anybody can come through the door and share their ideas. Our ideas need to be shared too. We can't shy away from tough discourse, from tough questions. We need to be part of the discussion. We know that the Zionist endeavor and the Jewish people are something that is worth fighting for. It's who we are, who I am from a personal perspective, but also it's important for society at large, and we have to be part of those discussions.
Gabriel, you're doing such an important job. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me.
Rapper Kanye West tweeted one word: Shalom, on Monday after his Twitter account was reinstated by the social media giant's new owner, Elon Musk. The rapper's account was suspended last month after he made a series of anti-Semitic posts saying he would like to go DEFCON 3 on Jews and invoking other anti-Semitic tropes. It is unclear if Musk approved his reinstatement, though he did tweet a reply to Kanye saying, "Don't kill what ye hate, save what ye love," in a pun on Kanye's name, who goes by the name Ye. And Kanye West was not the only familiar face reinstated back on Twitter. On Saturday, Elon Musk announced he would allow former U.S. President Donald Trump back on the platform after putting the issue up to a vote. Over 15 million Twitter users cast their vote on whether Trump should return, with 51.8% voting in favor of his reinstatement. After the poll results were announced, Musk tweeted that he would reinstate the account, writing, quote, "The people have spoken," end quote. Yet despite the announcement, Trump speaking at the Republican Jewish Coalition event in Las Vegas, saying he was not interested in returning, opting instead to stick with his new platform, Truth Social. Trump last Tuesday officially launched his campaign to regain the White House in 2024. And the prestigious World Team Chess Championship is taking place here in Israel. 12 of the leading men's teams, including Israel, are competing for the world title in the week-long tournament being held in Jerusalem. There is controversy swirling over the inclusion of Team USA chess star Hans Niemann. The world's number 8 ranked player has sued world champion Magnus Carlsen last month for accusing 19-year-old Niemann of cheating. The scandal has rocked the chess world, and this is Niemann's first competition since the accusation emerged. Team USA is favored and ranked first worldwide. Russia and Belarus were banned from the competition due to the invasion of Ukraine, but Kiev has sent a team. Team Israel is led by Maxim Rothstein and Ilana David. In group stage, Israel will play Team USA, Poland, Azerbaijan, India, and Uzbekistan. And the second pool includes the Netherlands, France, South Africa, China, Ukraine, and Spain.
And that's it for ILTV's Weekly Review. I'm Aaron Porras. See you next week.